because I went as fast as I could because I knew I was likely to be really behind.
Why did you do it on a pink sheet?
Because that was what was in my printer
Is
and
that trying to say that we need more women on the board?
No, it's because I was in the kitchen and it prints in the front room and I'm just like, oh, that's great. And I thought I ain't written it again.
Well, we'll let you go this time.
Okay.
Carol.
I bet you'll be able to find
Next
it.
time I'll do yellow. So we worked at a printer company, so we gotta make a lot of paper.
Okay.
Okay, you guys
Oh,
ready?
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you got your gavel. You got
I
it.
got to?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Everybody's here tonight. We get a motion to approve the agenda, tonight's agenda.
I will make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Has everyone had a chance to go over the minutes? Last week. Or last month.
Last month.
Yep.
I'm sorry, should I write shorter minutes?
Everybody good? Good. Can we get a motion to approve the minutes? You done there, man?
Yeah.
Okay,
Motion to approve minutes.
all in favor?
Wait, was there a second?
Second,
Oh, sorry.
second.
No changes, everybody happy with the minutes? All approved? All in favor?
Yeah.
Opposed? Okay, to let everybody know what's going on, I've contacted David, our engineer, to find out what's going on with the last application. Nothing's going on. Apparently, there was an email involved that Stacy would send some updated conditions to Dave, and he has not received that as yet. So I requested if he has received it, to send me an email, and he emailed back saying he has not received anything from them. Do nothing, so that's where we're at, the point on that, nothing's happening. Tonight, we're just gonna start figuring out what we're gonna do with the master plan, how we're gonna attack that.
I'm not saying a peep.
Oh, good thing. That's the basis of what we're gonna do tonight. Nick, what have you got?
Well, Mr. Bogey's here, they're doing some roads. I've seen him on Mead Road yesterday. Did you order did they end up ordering the sign out front? The new sign that we approved, was that ordered? The new sign?
I don't know if it was ordered, I think, Stephanie didn't order it.
No, I got talked to her, so I wanted to make sure you thought everything looked.
Oh, okay, well, I was gonna talk to you about that tomorrow, so
So
we'll have a report for that on Thursday.
they voted for a new sign. And the budget is complete. If you want to see the budget, contact the clerk. That's it. I'm just gonna fill it out.
Okay. Okay, public comment, 2 minutes.
I got nothing.
What a beautiful day.
It is, it was nice.
Still is.
Mark,
All right, they did gravel roads today. If anybody wants to know, since the meeting's Thursday, I'll let everybody know now. They just did all of Sherman from Platt all the way to Wells, and they did Crow all the way down to just about the S curves. So tomorrow they're gonna finish that up, and then tomorrow they're back on Sherman to meet west of Platt.
And then Thursday, it's rain on.
Perfect.
That's what always is.
No, I hope so. The gravel's about this thick in some areas. So they'll wash out some of the fines and do another grade on it, and they'll chloride it, and life will be good.
Did they crown it?
Not yet. They're still dumping gravel today, so. They're a little busy. They had a stop stoning on Tuesday or on Monday because of the traffic from the eclipse. Where it said road closed, there's 25 cars stuck behind a grader, so they called it. That's all I got.
okay. On to the master plan. You were around when they did that, weren't you, Matt?
Yeah, and I've thought about that. I have the old master plan sitting on my desk at work. I've been poking around it a little bit. The last time we did the master plan, when John was our chairman, as you guys know, he was very thorough. And we went line by line, paragraph by paragraph. We read it. We tried to figure out what it meant. We argued about what it did mean, what it could mean, what did we want it to mean. I don't recall doing any surveys. I think, as Dave pointed out the last meeting, I think it's pretty obvious that if, on at least probably the big topic, if we surveyed our residents, that they would all agree that there's probably the number one reason they live here is because of the rural atmosphere, whether it's dirt roads, open areas, agrarian culture. And I think it's safe to assume that the vast majority of our residents would want it to stay that way. As far as the master plan, we had Rob Peven come in and join us, and we met, I think we were meeting twice a month during those days. And we were meeting from like 7 to 10:30, 11, which I'm not prepared to do again at this time. And again, it was very thorough, line by line discussion. I mean, we tried to figure out what, it's like the Supreme Court trying to figure out what the people who wrote the Constitution, what do they mean when they said this? We were just guessing and second guessing everything in there. And sometimes it was absolutely irrelevant. Like it really had no tangible outcome. Like, why are we even arguing about this? I was a little frustrated from time that we spent on it. I don't think that that is necessary.
Oops.
Turn that off.
I've thought about, looking at, how do we want to do this? And obviously you guys are gonna have your input as well. I know in the past, we've done workshops on the weekends, we'll kind of lock ourselves in here for 6 hours, 8 hours. I don't know that I got a weekend that I can do that with my obligations at this point. I guess it depends on what this commission wants as far as how thorough do we want to be. Do we want to go line by line, read it? I mean, it was actually read, like John read the master plan, and then he would stop after every paragraph or section, and we would discuss it, or we would question words, we were spell checking it, like, oh, that word's misspelled, or that punctuation's wrong, and I don't know if we can do that as well.
Can we remove parts of the master plan if it's not relevant anymore? It states in here, and I don't know if this is a master plan that was created from another one and it's just added
I'm
to.
sure it was.
Because in it, it does say there was 600 surveys sent out and 200 and something returned. Well, was that from the last master plan? I mean, I don't know when it's updated, if the old stuff is taken out and new stuff is put in.
I would think if they reference the survey.
There's a 2003 survey in
Yeah,
the very back of this. or
Okay,
close to
so,
the back.
yeah, I don't believe we did
Oh,
a
so that's
survey.
There's a
old,
2000.
that's old news.
That's the only one I've seen, it's
Okay.
2003.
I do believe we should tap, I mean, especially on the issues of the day we're dealing with, even though it's kind of out of our hands at this point. Issues like solar development, you brought up water at the last meeting, like, is this something you would be in favor of? And I remember even going back when we first began the solar discussion, Sarah Mills coming in, and she's like, her first thing was, who are you? What kind of township are you? And, she said, look at your master plan. Is this something that's compatible? Are you gonna be able to live, conducively all together? And so I don't have any problem, and I would like to certainly solicit residents' input. I just, working with some of my colleagues and being familiar enough with the issue of this, is that it's very difficult to get an accurate. It's very difficult to get accurate feedback from a large group of diverse people when you're writing the questions, because those questions can be interpreted many different ways.
Biased, yeah.
Yeah, and so, at the same time, I don't know that we send a postcard, it's like, how do you feel about solar? How do you feel about municipal water? How do you feel about this? Because then you're gonna get probably some good feedback, but also some things that now we're trying to interpret what that person said. I don't know if a better course of action would be to hold a series of public hearings. I like that idea, but when large groups of people get talking, we go off tangent, and I think it cannot be very productive. Whereas the survey, which again has its own inherent issues, can be problematic as well. I don't know, what do you guys think about that? You know, do we want to solicit feedback, and if so, what way, shape, and form?
I don't think a survey is accurate enough, and I feel that we could accomplish the same thing by putting out a postcard and saying we're gonna have a public town hall meeting, or not public hearings, but town hall meetings to identify concerns of our master plan. And if you can't come to one, hopefully you can come to the other one. And is that before or after we already look at this and say, these are our concerns, and get their feedback on our concerns, and maybe see what their concerns are? I don't know.
Well, I mean,
What did you guys do in 2015?
I think we just read it and argued about everything. And
Oh, we can't do that.
No.
We already did that for 2
Yeah,
years.
so, I mean, I certainly think it would be prudent for this commission to, I mean, I know I would be willing to kind of go through and highlight my own personal concerns, not just as a resident, but as a commission member. What are my concerns? What are my proposed changes? I mean, what would I like to see included in this? Perhaps we can generate a document where all of us have kind of made our statements. And we could post that on the website, whatever, public review. And then solicit feedback. But again, it's just, I don't want it to turn into just a big bitch session and
Right.
people coming up, well, I want to see, you know, I mean, if you open the floor and, well, what do you want? Well, I want city water, and I want free internet, and I want the roads, the gravel roads redone every 2 weeks and after it rains, and, you know, it's like, we also want to keep it reasonable. So I mean, I would suggest, and again, I'm just talking off the top of my head, so sometimes in my classroom, this works really well, and sometimes it blows up my face. Is that, you know, hey, if our residents want to provide feedback, maybe we come up with some kind of form, or like, what issues do they want to provide feedback on? And then if we're gonna have a series of public hearings, to not necessarily just make that a platform for somebody to keep speaking over and over. You've said your piece. We have, you know, the document that you provided, not a survey, but like, you know, in very
Minutes.
brief and clear explanations, you know, what issues are you concerned with? What changes would you like to see? What changes do you think are happening that you don't want to see? And then kind of compile that data. But I don't need to hear the same people talk 3 times at 3 different public hearings on the same issue. And again, not that I don't want to hear from you guys, I want to be somewhat efficient in this process. But I do think if we're gonna do public hearings, you know, I don't think it'd be a bad idea to have one on Saturday.
Public hearing.
I think if we're gonna do a series of them, you know, it could just be I don't anticipate these things lasting. I mean, we're not, it's not a discussion. I mean, we can certainly say, okay, I've reviewed the master plan, here are my concerns, we can all do that, or however, whatever form you want. It's like, all right, Tim wants to say something, he's gonna stand up and he's gonna give us 2 cents, and we're not talking about it. We're just, it's kind of like,
Listening.
you know, yeah, we're listening.
So do you think that should be after we look at it and make our corrections, and have a edited copy available, markup copy, or?
I certainly think we should familiarize ourselves, and I've begun that. I didn't get to spend as much time on it as I wanted to before tonight's meeting. But I think all the commission members should be fairly familiar with what our master plan is, and aware of what our concerns are, whether or not we want to express them at that time. You know, it's like, which should come first? Should we tell the township what my concerns are as a commission member, before we listen to what their concerns are? I don't think it really matters, and I suspect we all have a lot of the same concerns, so. I don't think there's gonna be a lot of, I mean, if, you know, if we're opening up the master plan, I think we might get some people in here who wanna speak on the other side of some issues. And as a commission, we should listen to them.
Well, I only got through 15 pages and I have a lot of questions because it all is foreign to me. I've never really looked at it. Pieces I wanted to look at it, so
Yeah,
my questions are probably irrelevant that somebody else can answer them really quickly.
well, but that's the question, and with all due respect to Pat, I mean, John would know, you know, like, well, this, in this part of the master plan, this is what it's for. You know, and I remember talking with Sarah Mills, and I don't know if our engineer can help us, or maybe even Amanda, where it's like, okay, what is the purpose of this section of the master plan? What is the purpose of this plan? And, you know, in some places it gets real philosophical, you know, and in others it's a little more tangible.
So how would we know if we're missing anything in the master plan, or if we can remove stuff in that master plan? How do we know if it's relevant or not relevant or
Well, I
missing?
think that's up to us. I mean, if we don't think it's relevant, we don't want it in there. Do you recall? It was back when Rebecca was still here. And I mean, at one or two meetings, I know Rebecca and I kind of teamed up and we're like, wait a second. We're making all these decisions about solar and we're just like, hey, yeah, these people said this and I said this and the developer said that and that property owner said that. And you know, that we should, especially on those decisions where it's huge as far as the township issue goes. You know, that we need to kind of sit there and I think the engineer at the time, it wasn't Dave, but it's like, you need to, you know, you need to kind of see if this jives with your master plan. And then they wanted to put language in there, like John came with some language
Oh, I think
for the
we had
master
that.
plan. We never acted on it. But it was, I mean, even I'm like, this seems pretty pro solar, not, I mean, if that's what we want, then that's fine, let's put it in
Was
there.
it sustainability or?
Yeah, there was some language in there that gave me some
Yes.
heartburn, yeah.
Yes.
And so just taking that as kind of like a blueprint, like if, you know, if there's things in that master plan, and I'm sure Dave would agree with me, it's like, if we don't want that, like, that's not this township. Now, we shouldn't make that decision until we've
Right.
somehow harvested the residents' feelings as well as assessed our own. But I firmly believe if there's something in it that we don't like or don't want, it's no longer applicable, we can cross a bunch of stuff out. And then, of course, we can add in what we want. Now, when it comes to adding language, what we have done for the 20 years that I've been on this commission is, if there's something we want, we just go find it. It's, you know, we're not very innovative in this township, and there's other townships out there that are probably have written something similar, and you go to, John was real good about bringing all stuff, you bring in 3 or 4, and this one's kind of worded strongly, this one's a little more benign, and this one kind of takes a pass on it. And we're like, okay, and when we just start cutting and pasting and putting our own together. But I don't know, like, I would have a hard time, like, I consider myself a halfway decent writer, but it takes me forever, it's a painfully slow process, but if we wanted to write something and add it, I think we could do that, but again, that's something that John would just, you know, he would go and pull stuff together and spend hours and hours, and then come to the next meeting and be like, here's what I got, what do you think? And then we'd argue about it and make changes to. I mean, he was kind of, and again, Pat, if you're up for that, I don't think I'm capable of doing that. I can try, you know, like I say, but not, you know, with the master plan, it's kind of legalese, but not really.
It's something Dave can help us with.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if
Rather-
he's
I
here where
mean-
we sit there and, you know, once we go through this, once we figure out like the format, you know. When are we gonna sit down and actually start talking about the content of the master plan, when and how, what's it gonna look like when we solicit the residents' feedback? And then, okay, we've done everything, I've read it, I understand it, I have my concerns, I have things I wanna change, I've listened to anybody who wants to have a voice. Now it's time to start doing stuff to the master plan. That is where I think we as a commissioner need some help. As far as, you know, this is what we want, what should it sound like, where should it go in the master plan?
I think, I think the big thing in here to look at is the goals and objectives. I mean, if we just take their goals and objectives they had in 03 and then in 15. And if they went through it that detailed, you know, if you hit your goals and objectives and we still think those are the same, or we need to change those, that's really what I see is the big beef of this. A lot of this stuff is, to me, you know, political, you know, not political, population, you know,
Oh,
it's all
yeah, yeah.
demographics, the age. I don't think we need to really worry about
And
that.
that information is probably irrelevant, or not irrelevant, but it's
But it's
probably different now.
outdated
Yeah,
now.
and I don't know, did they pull that from a census or?
We got it from Monroe County.
Yeah, I don't. But the hard part here is gonna be, is keeping, you know, I think it's our job to be rational, logical, and based in reality. Like, you know, I think everybody would say, I don't want this township to change at all. Well, we know that sometimes, I mean, with solar, it might be out of our control, and, you know, at some point, you know, there might be some things that happen, and it's gonna change. I remember when I first moved out here, we had the quarter concept. You had to have 40 acres to build a house.
Me too.
And I was thinking about buying my farm, and I called, the supervisor at the time was Clyde Siswell. And I said, hey, I'm thinking about buying, who is this? I mean, I was like, I thought I was like under suspicion for something. What do you want? What are you trying to do? And I mean, and again, but that's kind of how, that's the heritage of this township, is you needed to have 40 acres. And then, I don't know how many years ago, we moved away from that. I mean, some of these farmers wanted to give their kids 5 acres, and, you know, that's the change that inevitably is gonna be, come from within. And, you know, I think if we ask most people, say, I don't want anything to change, and I'd probably be one of those people personally, but in reality, there is gonna be change, and how do we manage that? How do we work with that and also keep the character of what this township is? You know, like I said, before solar came, I had no idea. I mean, is that something is that even on our plate? What is it? You know, and then I still got somewhere, I think it's at work, an old newspaper clipping, like from right after I moved out here. And it showed where they're gonna run the water lines. And I was like, oh, you remember that, man? And it's like, oh, man, what's this gonna do to my property values? What's this gonna do to my taxes? Shortly after I moved out, you guys probably remember, Bobby Heath was gonna build a mobile home park right here. And on that 30 acres right there, he was gonna build a big sewer treatment plant and water tower and water treatment plant. You know, and then the big thing, well, I can guess probably 2006, 7, before the housing bubble, was Crosswinds. For those of you who don't know, they were gonna build a town, like a city. They were just like, hey, we got all these cornfields, we're gonna build a city. It's gonna be about twice. If you take Milan and Dundee and combine them together, that's how big of a city we're gonna build. And I saw the plans. We did site plan, and we had to have the meetings, you know, so these things are gonna keep coming. I don't think there's anywhere in this country where things like that don't pop up. But the way I see our master plan is like, okay, when they do pop up, the master plan kind of says, this is, you mentioned objectives and goals. You know, that's like where, you know, as soon as you hear about a proposed development or some kind of change, you like, okay, what is, you know, the master plan should be kind of like that guiding light. I don't think it say we don't want development, you know, how are we gonna handle development? Some of the more philosophical questions, and like I say, I think the next couple of months could and should be, depending on how we want to do it, a series of, for this commission, for us to sit down with the master plan and just do some introspection and kind of go through it. How do I feel about it personally, and come together as the 5 of us, and, you know, okay, these are our concerns, these are what, then we're gonna ask our residents, you know, what do they think? Is the master plan on the website? So they can, okay,
I put it on the homepage at the last meeting.
awesome, thank you. And I have a feeling that there's gonna be a lot of consensus. There's a reason we all moved out here, and it's pretty much in this same small ballpark. There's gonna be a couple issues where I suspect people will come out because they're gonna. But, I mean, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, just, I guess.
How long did it take the last time you did the plan?
I can't even remember. I mean, I had little kids.
Brandon, how long?
Let me look in the files here.
It was,
I think it's at 2015 was the last quote unquote review.
yeah, I think he was talking like from, oh, hey, we're gonna do the master plan
Yeah,
until.
so like start
yeah.
to finish.
I mean, Rob Peven would come here and he would set his computer up and we were going over all the data. We were looking at roads, we were looking at population trends, and that's also back when, not Whitmer, Granholm. That's where we got that goofy map right there. And we said that, I mean, we had designated tech research office. Granholm had this technological corridor coming down 23, and so we started, that kind of morphed over into our land use, and we did a lot of work that wasn't necessary. Went down a lot of paths that I don't think were necessary.
Yeah, it looks like the last one here is 2015.
I mean,
Unless it's stuck under something else.
Like I say, when Rob Peven came up, I mean, he was part of the Monroe County Planning Commissioner. I forget exactly what his title was, but he was a pretty good help because he knew. He's like, oh, this is how it's supposed to work. This is, these are the questions you should be asking yourselves. This is what we're trying to accomplish. He was kind of like our ringleader. I don't know if there's another person.
What was his title?
I don't know. He worked, I mean, and he was very good. He was kind of like Dave. He's like, well, it's your township. What do you want to do? But here are the things you should think about. And here's what it probably should look like if you want this, or this is what it should sound like if you want that.
His name was Rob Peven, you said?
Rob, R-O-B, Peven. He's our other engineers or
Planning director, Monroe County. The planner for the Monroe County, excuse me,
is that what he is now? The director?
not now. I
Oh.
don't know where he is now.
Okay.
I got disbanded.
Yeah.
Well, I think
all-
that's what I
all
did
gone.
hear, that they disbanded the Monroe Planning Commission.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Bryant, is it Bryant or is it county?
Mark Bryant.
Bryant, yeah. So you go through, he does have somebody underneath him, but I'm not. There's-
yeah, I mean, like I
that's all.
say, John's had been doing this for so long, he just kind of knew the procedure and, we kind of followed along and put in our 2 cents when appropriate. But I don't even know if John could have done it without Rob's help. But that's because we were looking at a lot of stuff that, like, I don't think we needed to.
And we're kind of set up at the moment where, everything's kind of set where it is, and that doesn't have to be changed much.
I would think, what I started, I read a lot of stuff in the first part there that I agreed with. Like, that still makes sense. I think most people are comfortable with this. Had some questions and I don't know if like a lot of that stuff that has to be in there, like the data, people demographics, population densities. I don't know if you want to dedicate a couple meetings for us to simply start going. We could just sit there and say, section by section. Does anyone want to talk about this? Does anyone have any questions, concerns, proposed changes, proposed elimination? And we could just, rather than read it, like.
Maybe
third graders.
designate that we're gonna do so many pages, read this page of that, and just bring that, and this is what we're gonna work on.
You're the chairman, give us some more.
I think that would be one way to attack this.
Yeah. Make it manageable, but also, look, we're not gonna go and just beat the hell out of this section just because it's there. We're gonna, we're gonna visit it and we're either gonna leave it alone or some of these commissioners are gonna propose some changes. And we could go through that process. I think, I don't know, I mean, I haven't put a lot of thought on this, but I don't see that it really matters whether we do our thing first and then see what the residents say, or both. 'Cause I think if we try to do both at the same time, I mean,
I
there's all gonna be all
agree
these
with you
thoughts
on
and
that,
voices in our head.
Matt. I agree.
Maybe
with
if
you.
we just spent a couple meetings, got some clarity on where we as a commission stand and say, okay, here's
How do
what
you
we're
feel
thinking,
about
what
that,
do you
Cheryl?
people think?
I just think there's a lot of stuff that's really not necessary in there.
Well, yeah, but what do you think about the idea of grabbing like, doing like, first 5 pages or something like that, or
I
first
think it's
4
gonna take
pages?
too long.
Yeah,
Think so? Well, how many pages do you think we should do? What would you think would be something we go through and change and look at it in a meeting? I don't wanna
Right.
and I don't wanna over.
well, the other thing too is we could just say, hey, we're gonna work on this from 7 to 9.
Okay, yeah, something
You
like
know,
that.
and whatever we get to, and there's, I would suspect there'll be some nights where we're just, yep, good, and then there's some nights where we just get stuck and we wanna debate and argue and ask expert questions and get their feedback and. Yeah, and then we can see how it goes. I mean, if we're not making a lot of progress.
How do you feel about that?
Do we need more than one meeting a month? Get through this?
Oh, okay, so let me ask, I mean, I know we're overdue for this. I mean, is there, help me recall with the planner, Mark, if you, or Amanda, I mean. Do we need to get this done for a certain reason by a certain date? Is there a timeline
Past
on it?
due.
Well, I know it's past due.
It's past due, but it's not like dire need of, this is your deadline.
If we don't have anything on the agenda, we could probably work on that. If not, we'd have to dedicate
Yeah,
an
you
hour
could-
to
you
it
could
and
put
then
new
do
business
whatever else
first.
is on the agenda.
Yeah, you could put new business first, you can swap them. You're the
Okay.
chairman, you have that authority to do that.
Hey, we're here 7 to 9. If we got nothing, we're spending 2 hours. If we got new business, we're gonna do that, then use what time is left.
That's what the issue's gonna be, is the new business, and we're never gonna get to it.
Yeah, as I say, there's a lot.
Well, like on a night like tonight, that's all we would have been doing. And I mean, the next couple of months are gonna be tricky, but I mean, once like June, July and August get here, I should be able to do 2 nights a month. If you guys wanted to do that, we've done it in the past. I just don't wanna be here till 10 or 11 o'clock. Oh
No.
my God, I'm up at 5 every morning. Need my beauties.
Good luck.
Oh.
It's not working. It's not working.
I'm not getting no sleep.
I do wanna remind you that you can call a special meeting, all you need is 18 hours advance notice. So, let's say you don't schedule a meeting, an extra meeting next month. But then, Matt comes to Pat and says, I feel like I should rhyme here. And says, hey, I got some free time this month. I could do a meeting this, or this day. Well, then Pat can reach out to the other members to see if they're available that day. And you can schedule a meeting. So you don't have to schedule all your meetings at a meeting.
Okay, yeah. Now, if we have a workshop, is that something we have to have open up to the public?
Yes,
Okay.
as long as you have a quorum, it has to follow the OMA.
When you say workshop, when I hear workshop, I'm thinking like that's something where we're gonna sit down for like 4 or 6 hours.
Two
And Mark's gonna buy us lunch and we're gonna get a bunch of work done.
donuts, coffee.
Yeah, don't forget entertainment.
Oh, yeah.
I'll bring in a coffee cake.
Get rid of that alcohol policy first.
I didn't say a rum cake.
I wouldn't have a problem with a workshop. If I probably wouldn't be able to guarantee that I could do a weekend, which I don't know, I mean, weekends are all I got until mid-June. after that, I can do weekdays if that works with your schedule, I know. Or,
Just not during the day for me.
yeah,
Another option, and I'm not trying to exclude anybody, but remember, as long as there is a quorum, the meeting can still happen. And, well, all the notes from, you have the minutes, which will pretty much tell you, the main talking points for that meeting if you should miss it. So if you do schedule multiple meetings, but you can only make two out of the three, you can still, follow back on those, and if you have questions, bring it to the next meeting and say, hey, Pat, I read in the minutes, such and such, what do you mean by this? And you can get a little bit more in depth.
Do a lot with the email now that we did in the past, so. Try to keep everybody up to date and everybody, so.
well, I mean, I guess my suggestion, for lack of anything else, is that like, let's put this on the agenda. Let's make sure that, were you gonna get us new hard copies?
Of the zoning ordinance?
No, the master plan. No.
Did.
I did,
Last
month.
month,
Okay.
it was a binder.
Yeah,
Oh,
binder.
that's right, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I'm thinking of the
Don't
ordinances.
scare me.
No.
But yeah, I'm still working on the ordinance. I am gonna get you. those.
Okay, cause I'm working from the old one at school, so.
If we come
It doesn't
down
look
here and
like much has
pick
changed.
out something in here and say, next meeting, let's hit whatever, A, B, and C,
Okay.
or A, or what, a lot of the stuff in here, we're not really gonna do anything with. Somebody's gotta get it from the county, populate, all the population stuff. I don't think that really is gonna make a lot of beans of difference
Well,
stuff.
and my question is it required to be in there? Do we have to update that if it is?
That was something else I was gonna say when you were talking about, if you don't like it, just take it out. You have to be very careful with
Yeah.
that because it has to follow the, Michigan Planning Enabling Act. So I would you know what, I will get the PDF and I will email it to all of you. I will do that right now, so I don't forget.
Getting that data
And
is
that
not
way
too
you
hard.
can,
Getting that data is not too hard.
No.
I deal with it all the time at work, so it's not that hard to find it.
And there's a lot of the stuff in here is that data. I mean, there's how many houses were built, how many babies were born, I mean, it's a lot of stuff I don't think we're gonna need to do anything with in reality.
So that's required.
Well, we can put it in here, but we're not gonna sit here and talk about it. We're gonna talk about what our goals are, what our objectives are, and it's gonna come down and say, okay, what's your vision? All this other stuff is for us, I mean,
It's just data.
most of the stuff in this book is data, yeah. What do we
no
want?
problem working with you
Okay.
on getting the data from the county and,
Okay. Yeah, I can do some runs and stuff, it doesn't matter.
yeah. I'm not exactly sure. We'll probably, I don't know if we'll have to FOIA it or if it's a digital copy they can just send over. I'm sure it's digital.
I mean, we're not, again, the nice thing about our position is we're not the only ones doing this. And
Oh, no. they're
we're
doing it
obviously way
over there in
behind.
London, too.
So I'm sure Monroe County, if we say, hey, we're not getting our master plan, we need the data, okay, we know exactly what you need. There you go.
Yeah.
They're not that helpful. You haven't dealt with them.
You just get a sweet talk.
Yeah, you go down there, Mr. Beasley.
Apparently I'm too.
I
ugly.
haven't gotten.
Oh, I like the new
Justin
name.
deals with this all the time, so we're gonna send the pretty boy down there.
It's not, I mean, the like census.gov, it's literally broken down population, like gender, like you just click on it and it pulls up.
He doesn't know yet that he just got the job.
Yeah.
Not
Is
bad.
there anything to do with, SEMCOG and everything in there?
I don't have
really
mine in front of me,
looked.
no, as far as I don't.
I don't remember
Cause I
seeing
know,
this.
London does with
How
that.
does he?
I don't remember seeing
I don't even know what you
some
do.
cause.
You do it at work all the time. What do you do?
Has it
Appraisals.
theirs,
Oh,
that's
okay.
why,
I don't remember. seeing
and I
do
haven't
demographics, so.
looked through
Okay.
yours.
Yeah, you need that
thoroughly.
information to do that stuff, yeah.
That information comes off the census report. Probably good 80% of it.
What?
I'm not saying anything, I'm just sitting here, I have my own business.
What do you feel about, like I said, going through this and set up go through something like that, and that way we can study what we're, and get our questions highlighted and stuff, and that sounds good?
Yeah.
Do you wanna set like a minimum for next month? Like, make sure that, make sure you have read and have any notes on the following, like, I don't know, ABC, whatever. Yes.
Well, I agree with Nick that the goals and objectives are probably the most important, that if we have changes to them, let's work on that first, and then all these other things, these maps, geology, that's really not our concern, so we can skip that. Surface features, topography, we can skip that. That all stays the same,
Talk with Dave about.
yeah.
Isn't the beginning though, and I skipped that the other day, where it gets philosophical, like mission statements, belief statements.
Yeah, well, the very first section. there is-
Yeah.
Item 1. Your introduction,
Mhm.
good read. But, if we go down here, introduction, obviously, that's not what we're worried about. Planning process tells you that, talks about developing your goals and objectives. I mean, this is, really what to do.
Mhm.
And then you get into, here's regional setting, here's your goals. But as you get to the further in, then it has the actual, what Milan Township goals and objectives.
Yeah,
What
okay.
That's, to me, what I think we want to look at.
Okay.
If it makes sense. I mean, I don't want to look at people being born and stuff. I don't care. I know it means something, but it's a little different in this township than it is in, bigger cities. They're looking at a large population of people moving in, moving out, being born, this here is, yeah, this here is, there's a lot of all these diagrams, maps of what's in each area. Goals and objectives, this is the one. Vision statement, I think that's where we
That's
should
what I was-
probably
yeah.
start.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah.
Like
Page 47.
item for goals and objectives. See how far we can get through. We got 1, 2. I don't know how far we could get through. Future land use. Objective 1, objective 2.
I don't really like that numbering. It's confusing. It's like, we already talked about this. If you look at those, objective 1A, and then objective.
Objective 2 comes in again.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
why- Why don't we look at,
If you're like on page, let's see.
47?
54, if you look at objective 2, that's stuff we're already doing. provide convenient access and one-stop service for all residents, that's here. Develop a township website for residents to access the information, that's done, you know. that's-
Yeah, no, I don't,
That's something we
a lot
can
of that
go-
stuff, there's not gonna be a lot of
Yeah.
discussion or disagreement.
Do we have a shared service agreement with the city of Milan, the school districts, and with the city and county rec commissions for services such as education and recreation? We have that?
Formally, no, I don't think so. I mean, we have, what, say that again, Cheryl?
The township should explore options for shared services agreements with the city of Milan, with the school districts, Dundee and Milan, and with the city and county recreation commissions for services such as educational and recreational programs, recreation facilities and senior citizen programs. That's objective 1 to community services goals.
So just using that as an example, I have no problem with that. I mean, should Milan Township partner with the city of Milan so that Milan Township residents can go sign up for a pottery class, or, you know, make sure our kids can go into Little League, senior services. There's been talk of transportation. I know at one time that they had some transportation services available for seniors. I think that might be something valuable to our residents as well. And to me, when I hear that, all I'm hearing is we should explore that.
Yeah, these are goals, but then do we ever get back to looking at the goals? If this was in 15 and we don't even know that it exists, how do we get back to the goals? I don't
Well,
know.
it's a goal. I mean,
Yeah, right.
it's like anything else. It's like if it's a goal that we have a collaborative effort with the village of Dundee and the city of Milan, and that if they have some good things that going on that might benefit our residents, that we explore that, that's our goal. Now, how does anything ever happen? Usually somebody says something. You know, one of our residents would come to me and they're like, hey, I tried to sign up for this and they, you know, can you guys, you know, it's.
So then we need to look at their goal to see if their goal is the same as our goal?
No,
It's-
no.
I would say it's a living document, so it's just something that's there that our future can go ahead and use and bring up or anything like that. So I think it's a good thing, I agree. But that's what I'm thinking that the goals and objectives are, is just something that's living that can go either way, or it can just sit there.
Just leave it.
So,
Yes.
I'm not saying to delete it, but I mean, no one even knows that's here, so.
right, but
I
that's
don't
the
see it as like
community.
I don't see it as a goal, like this is something that we have to act on next
Right.
month. This is something that, you know, we should be aware of, that we have neighboring communities and that we might benefit from collaboration and working with them on a variety of issues for our residents. Okay, something comes up. Now, do we even have to write that down? Because it's like, that's common sense, right? We would do that, but it's.
That's the living part of it, it's just somebody.
It came from somewhere.
It came from, well, and
It's
it's up
been there,
to you
right.
to, as a resident, it's to look at that and say, hey, this document right here states this, so. You know, we don't have
I'm
to,
just thinking of it's something that we might have been able to use before.
exactly,
Mhm.
but this is the first time we've really dug in deep to see what there is in there.
You know, and it wouldn't, I mean,
I mean, I just opened that page, and that's why.
No, and but that's a real good example, and it's,
Yeah.
maybe it's one of those things where it's like, you know, hey, maybe twice a year, it's like, we put an item on the agenda, it's like, hey, we're gonna go back, and it's like, has anybody talked about that? For example, randomness is I got a text from somebody over in Saline, and they're looking for high school girls to join this flag football thing. It's through their rec and ed, it's free, the final game, you go down there and play it at Ford Field. Okay, so there's that cooperation. Now, that's the kind of thing that happens organically, because they knew I was a coach in this area, and that I have daughters, and so there's that communication. But I mean, it's like, we could be sitting there on a, not that we've had a lot of slow nights lately, but you know, it's like going through, it's like, hey, you know, maybe we should send somebody up to, like, I know several city council members that consider them friends. Call them up, like, hey, what do you guys got going on? I mean, you know, are your opportunities, are your senior stuff, the transportation issues, the community rec and at the library, if those are not available to our residents, how can we make that happen?
Exactly.
How
I
can we
agree.
increase that?
100%. This is just something that we can change. And this is the opportunity right here to go ahead and follow through, just like what you're saying. You're reading it and it's like, hey, why don't we, why can't we be part of this or
But,
whatever?
and like I say, a lot of this stuff is resident driven, like
And that's how you grow too, and that's change too. So that's all played, it's all played into that master plan. So.
So we just need someone to initiate it.
Right. That's that little chalkboard that you write stuff on.
big whiteboard to-do list.
Yeah.
So Nick and Cheryl, from what I'm hearing is I think when we begin this process, which may be as early as next month, if I'm feeling this right, is to just jump ahead to 47.
I agree.
And start going over these goals and objectives, and some of them can just be like, yep, we like them, it's still in there. Some of them are like, yeah, maybe not so much, or, you know, I would like to, I'll have to go back to my stuff and see what they wanted us to add as far as the solar stuff, sustainable. You know, I think that's something that could be a discussion.
Is it this? Here. Well, here we can blow it up for you.
Oh, yeah.
That's
That's
it
the
right there?
draft addendums, yeah. I believe that's what it is. I mean, that's certainly what it's titled. And again, I'm not saying I think this is probably the one that most residents would like to speak on.
Do you want me to print that out or send that to you
If you could
guys?
send it to me, I'll just print it, or I mean, whatever you guys want.
You can send it to me too also.
Okay. I just sent you an email with
Okay.
the act.
All right, everybody in agreement with putting something on the next agenda, starting on page 47? Okay, all right, we all agree to that. So our next meeting on the agenda, we're gonna look at that starting on page 47. The master plan. Okay. And there's a possibility that we might have more on there, it's depending on what happens in the future there before we'll just have to.
Yeah, and I mean, if we start getting inundated with new business and maybe we just need to, if we're not making the progress that we're comfortable with, it's like, okay, let's do the fourth Tuesday of every month, and if, that'll be a dead, that we won't do new business on those nights. It'll just
Okay.
be master plan and.
Did you guys look at the table of contents? Go to the table of contents in the front. First page of the table of contents. This is why I said go to the goals and objectives, just so you guys are on the same page. We're not really gonna do anything, I mean, we can look at regional settings, environmental, geology, surface features, hydrology, natural features, demographics, transportation, public utilities. I mean, those aren't things we need to update or to discuss internally, and, you know, what they are. That's why I said, let's go to the number 4. Roman number 4. Maybe we can try to get through like, yeah, let's try to get these goals and objectives. I'll take this through 9 pages.
Yeah.
We should be able to at least get an idea what the heck we're gonna do when we first start going through those.
Yeah.
Yeah, and unlike an ordinance, you know, this isn't something that needs to be, I mean, like when we write ordinances, it has to be, I mean, it has to be written just right.
Right,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
and this is more of like this is what we want, what we
This is an overview of the township
Yeah.
and where you want it to go.
But you gotta make it strong enough for the lawyer, so that he has something.
I don't think they would, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think the master plan,
I think it's not that strong of a document, it's more of a guideline of what you want to see the township to look like 5, 10, even up to 30 years
Yeah.
from now. So
Right.
But
I
it's
still
very,
think it goes
the-
back.
yeah, there's still some legalese that need to be in there, which is why I brought up the Planning Enabling Act, but for the most part, like the things that they're referring to, the goals and objectives, and it's not, I don't think it's super critical. Unless they're trying to like blatantly leave something out, like saying no to this, whereas just not mentioning it.
Well, I think the first thing we need to do,
Good one.
is probably pick a new picture for the front. It's a picture of Cone Elevator. It hasn't been open in 30 years.
what are we gonna, I guess we could put the hall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not with
Put a
you out
picture of
front,
Mark.
you, Mark.
Mark standing up front.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Oh, we can put his cardboard.
Yes.
Yeah.
He'll never know.
All right, so we'll be ready to discuss that section.
Absolutely.
With you? Okay. Okay.
Justin, you all right with that? Sure?
No.
We're banking on you to pull us through this whole thing.
I get the statistics somewhere.
Yes. That's our goal.
Next item. That's it.
Anybody else have any comments
Public comment.
from any of the commissioners? You had something you wanted to talk about on the solar?
Yeah, just. Interesting, more on like the decommissioning side. At work, I was emailing, there's a 1,000-acre solar project in Indiana. That is in the works of going in, and they got a engineering company to come in to estimate what the decommissioning cost would be for their surety bond. And so it's 1,000 acres, so pretty similar to what was proposed here.
Mhm.
And that engineer came in at 3.7 million as the estimated disassembly, disposal, and site restoration as of now. So I don't know, I see like in our ordinance, there's nothing monetary in there, like value. I know we just were saying like, it's gonna be up to whoever engineer, that, you know, we pick or choose, but 3.7 million is a lot of money. And I know we might not have much say in that, if this, you know, ordinance goes through in the state of Michigan.
Yeah.
but I don't know,
Well,
something to think about.
yeah,
Because I know before, and we had like $100,000, this is like an upfront thing. But if it
Did
was
we-
put up and fell back, like, you know, a week into the project or something happens and they go away, well, according to this, it's about $3.5 million for a similar sized project.
I mean, but if it's our
Yeah.
discretion, it's our ordinance, then that's, I mean. Sorry, you wanna build a 1,000-acre solar complex?
Yeah, no,
here,
this is
then-
just like the most like updated number, you know, relevant. It was, you know,
That's
a
not
third
cheap.
party engineer that did that, so.
If I remember correctly, we discussed it, once they decided how big it was, that we would have to get that information. And then have to update it like every 5 years, if I
For
remember.
inflation,
correctly.
Yeah, it's gonna be
Inflation.
updated, yeah.
No,
You're not supposed to have anything monetary in an ordinance, because an ordinance is hard to change. That would come from a resolution from the township board.
So.
So that's why we put in
So
there.
that, yes,
For
that
the board
that
side,
would be you guys trying to, then that's perfect information for you to give to Nick, to relay to the board. You know, us, you know, as a planning commission, we recommend at least this amount, you know, monetary value for decommissioning to be in the resolution.
It's also
You know.
important that you take out the salvage value. Cause like when she was sending this back to me, she goes, well, they also came back to equipment with me worth 10 million, so really it's negative $6.5 million in decommissioning costs. Because they're trying to say that, you know, the recycled value of those panels is 10 million, so really they're so. I think when you put it in there, you have to say mine's the salvage value, because.
Or
the
you
energy
sit there and
companies are
say,
gonna say
look,
the salvage value is this, which is gonna be higher than the decommissioning.
well, that's fine, but we need to make sure that, I mean, the reason we're keeping your money now is because if you go away, and if you
Yeah.
go away, you're not here to salvage that material. So we're gonna keep your $3.5 million, and then as you decommission it, you can make your $10 million, and then you'll get your, you know, $3.5 million back, so. Man, I'm not, I mean, this big wave, these big corporations, I'm not worried about their feelings. I think if you were to talk to a lot of these developers, I think that's the cost of doing business.
But yeah,
And if
totally.
it's not, it needs to be.
in places right now, the state has to finally end up cleaning up. Which is us, if the state cleans it up, they got money from us.
Mhm.
Um,
I mean, that was their whole selling point, right?
Yeah, that was.
We're gonna be in, and when we're out, we're gonna put these farm fields right back the way we found them.
But the new language the state's trying to adopt is.
Oh, no, if
Yeah.
the state takes it over, we're just gonna.
They
do
got
what
10
else.
years before they even have to start coming up with a bond. First 10 years, they don't have to come up with it.
So who's gonna pay that 3.5 million?
See, and that's what, they've done that because that's what the solar company wanted.
Oh, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
If this referendum doesn't pass, and the state ultimately is gonna be the deciding factor in the permitting process, our job is easy. We're just gonna have to do whatever they tell us, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know why we should have a job.
We could just turn this into a monthly poker game.
Yeah.
I agree. Seems like if it's gonna happen that, they might as well just take it everybody and let the state take care of everything.
Well, they still want us to figure out where the neighbors can put their fences and, you know, how many acres you need to build an outhouse. They'll handle the important stuff. They'll leave the other stuff to us rubes. We're good.
okay, light meeting today.
Yes.
When's our next meeting? May.
Ninth, I think it was.
Okay.
All right, now we're gonna open it up back to the public. Anybody got any questions or concerns?
I was just hoping that you guys.
14th, yeah.
Glad you guys are going through this.
May 14th.
I just
May
gotta make
14th.
sure, are you guys going to need, a lawyer to look at this before, during, or after?
Oh, I would
Oh, I
imagine
certainly
so.
think we'll send it out to everybody for their.
I think Dave's gonna look at it. He's,
I think
Dave's
that would
gonna-
be great, but I
yeah.
think we need legal people to look at this to make sure. Just keep in mind that you're doing it for the residents. You know. That's it, thank you.
And,
As Matt was talking about, which you were kind of taking me in circles in the beginning there.
Yeah, I'm good at that.
As you were talking, some ideas came to mind. You were talking about the workshops and whatnot. I think it might be even a good idea to have a couple meetings with Dave first and make a plan for you guys. That way, you know, you guys know which way you need, you know, what things you should be looking at, what things you can totally leave alone, you know, kind of make a plan before your workshops. That way you can kind of focus and not have to, hopefully, you know, question too much, you know, or send questions, you know, have to send too many questions to Dave. You know, if you can cover any questions of things you might have of what you might need to look at or not. And there was something else I was gonna say, I can't remember.
Should we
I
see
don't
if he can be here in May?
Huh?
Should we see if he can be here at the May meeting? So then that way,
Well,
like, if we go through the objectives.
Listen to what Amanda just said, I'm wondering if it wouldn't just, would, you know, say, hey, if you were to reach out, phone call or whatever.
Mhm.
Where do
Hey,
they start?
Yeah, we're starting this process, we figured we'd skip all the data and demographic stuff, we were just gonna jump into the goals and objectives and kind of, you know, start discussing them and raising questions, concerns. See how he feels about that, or if he suggests something else.
Okay.
I mean, I think he kind of gave us, I mean, when he was here last time, I think he's like, well, it depends on how you wanna do it. You know, you can just kind of say, yeah, it's good the way it is, or you can really get into it and discuss every little thing. But I think we, you know, I think there's a consensus on the board here that we don't need to do the first big parts. Goals and objectives.
I can do that.
You know, based on what he said last meeting, what Amanda just said, just like, you know, basically, are we just, this is what we're planning, does that sound good to you?
Well, and then, I mean, if it becomes a little too complicated for him to explain,
Oh,
then, you know,
absolutely.
you can come to
Yeah,
a meeting.
yeah.
Or again, if anybody has questions.
Now, the one thing too, if we're gonna actually request him to come to a meeting is maybe go through it, even if we're. I'm very hesitant to say we're gonna stumble through this, but as we go through it and we compile that list of questions and concerns. Rather than, hey, this is what we talked about last month, and then, hey, this is what we talked about last month, like, we went through this, the second half of this, and these are the questions and concerns we have, and then maybe get them here to have a
Big powwow.
big.
Oh, and as for an attorney looking it over, yes, an attorney does need to review it to make sure all the legalese is there, but Dave, he's he's pretty on top of it because he's done so many. But absolutely more eyes are better.
That's been a day, yeah.
We good?
Good.
Everybody good? You good?
Looking at statistics.
Okay. All right,
I forgot this part.
motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, meeting adjourned.
I did, I made a second.
Need to put me to sleep tonight.
That's that guy right there, he didn't know I thought.
Are we done?
Dude,
I'm telling you the
don't
truth.
you be able to.
He didn't know.